Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and what is the CPU outlook next year, and kind of what did it happen this year? So this year, I have to say, it was a boring year until here late with Intel Alder Lake. We already had the AMD 5000 series processors out, and then they came out with the APU, which I happened to buy and put in and upgrade my media server with. So there was, a little bit there on the AMD side, but Intel Alder Lake was the surprise, and I like how Intel kind of came back and surprised us a little bit with their performance. They still use a lot of power and stuff like that, but the whole thing of performance cores and efficient cores that worked out better than what I thought. Yeah, there was a little bit of growing pains, but I was actually surprised that Intel got as well as it did on the big little design. So where does that put us with this boring year of 2021? A little excitement here, and Intel, doing a great job with their processor. I really think that that's a processor to consider here. I would consider their higher end processors right now, because I think in this next year is going to be exciting. So not only in the HEDT market, I think is Intel going to release an HEDT processor, but AMD is going to release their Zen 3 HEDT, which is taking longer than expected. I wish they would have came out with it this year. I actually hope that maybe they understand what the HEDT market is and do the 3D stack Zen cores for their HEDT market. That would be pretty cool. Um, However, first off the bat is the Zen 3 with Vcache. So that Zen 3 Plus, I don't know what people are going to call it, Zen 3 Plus Vcache. And that processor is going to be another exciting one for me. And I don't know if I'll buy one, but you're going to have 3D stacking on a processor now, and it's going to be in full production. We've been talking about this now for a couple of years, and that's going to be here. So that's going to be really exciting on where we're kind of going to go with that and what is the possibilities going forward. Because we already heard that there may be even some 3D stacking stuff now on GPUs. This could really start ramping up, and we could really start seeing a huge jump in performance time over time with how people 3D stack, how put different co-processors on, and everything else. Then we also have the Zen 4 stuff from AMD. So they're going to have, the Zen 3, which is going to be on AM or Zen 3 plus Vcache, which is on AM4, and then the Zen 4, which is on AM5. So there's going to be also a new motherboard platform. So hopefully AMD kind of does a better job this time with their first releasing their motherboard platform. I understand that the old one, they said it will last for 4 years or 5 years, whatever it was. It did. However, they made some of the chipsets not compatible with certain processors and really was not the best consumer friendly stuff either, AMD. Come on, that's not right. Make the 3000 series boards run with the 5000. There may be some limitations. I get that. But don't limit stuff. I get that you say their BIOS chip and everything else. Um, Figure it out. I mean, as a computer guy myself, a software engineer, guess what? I have to figure a lot of stuff out. I don't get really many options, but it has to be figured out. So just figure it out. Um, but I think that this is a whole nother opportunity here. We got, the next generation that AMD's coming out with, and really the first step of where AMD's going to be going with DDR5. Uh, I believe it's going to have PCI Express 5. So it's really going to be, I think, a more expensive platform to start, unless those costs come down by this time. With GPU still being high and everything else, I don't see how much the cost is going to come down so fast until some supply issues start getting figured out, and all of a sudden it starts being readily available and more people buy into the platform. So Alder Lake has already started that, right? They already got DDR5 out and everything else, but this, the next generation Intel, and I'm blanking on the name right now. That's also going to be supposedly coming out this year, and if that's coming out, that's going to be exciting. Getting in the HDD platform, truly getting that competition back in there. We kind of had AMD dominating this last year for the most part, and before that as well, where Intel's been kind of sitting on the sidelines. And Intel came back a little bit here, well, with Alder Lake, but going forward, they have to do and keep up that pressure. So it's even got AMD talking about their big little designs in the future, and that could be something huge. I was listening to Red Gaming Tech on some of those ideas that he was hearing about Big Little for Ryzen processors. So go check him out if you are looking for more on that. And just to go through, right, if we're having start getting this competition, hopefully that generates a little bit more fun and keeps us interested so we can get through this whole painful issue of, well, the GPU side, right? Now, one thing I would like to see, I don't know if this is going to happen, but one thing I would like to see, and I mentioned this in my GPU outlook, is Nvidia get into the CPU market and not the x86 CPU market. I like to see them get into creating an ARM processor. They already have an ARM license. It can be a socketed CPU. I think that would be a great option for an ARM processor. A socketed ARM processor. They could create a chipset with. They used to create chipsets anyways, with their internal stuff, and they could create a motherboard or have others create a motherboard like EVGA or somebody like that, and they could release an ARM CPU that would compete. I think that would be a great option, and they could, tell Microsoft, even, Linux will run ARM already, and they probably have to do a little bit of modifications, but let's say get Windows and say, hey, anybody that buys this is going to be a DIY stuff to start out with. They probably even get some OEMs on it as well, and we're going to release this, Microsoft, and you can just have them, plug in the OS and install it. I think that would be a great option. I would try it out. I would try an ARM processor with, from Nvidia, and that would get Nvidia the ecosystem, kind of a CPU GPU combination that Intel and AMD have, and it would give us a new architecture out there for the DIY section as well, instead of just being in laptops and low powered stuff. I think that there's some value there for being in high power, getting some games on it, and really kind of pushing these ARM architectures to see how well they perform. I understand that there's some implementation layers and stuff like that or transition virtualization layers, etc., for games that may be built on x86. But if Microsoft stuff is working like they've said it is before with some of the other stuff, I don't see why not. This could be really interesting. That's kind of my hope for 2020. I don't see it really happening, right? Nvidia is still trying to buy ARM. I don't get why they need to buy ARM when they already have the ARM license. They should just start building with the ARM license and see where they get to, because I think that there's an opportunity there for them. But this could be an exciting year. Some of the stuff I hope for, I don't think is with Nvidia isn't going to materialize next year. But with AMD and Intel kind of back competing, I almost felt this year that AMD kind of was slacking a little bit. That's how I felt. AMD really didn't put their best foot forward for the industry. Now, maybe that is because they are seeing how bad it was for manufacturing. They're trying to alleviate some of the manufacturing, some of the supply issues, and they just sat back a little bit. Because maybe Zen 3, or Zen 4, depending upon when they want to release it, was not, well, one, may have not been design ready, but two, may have put an extra strain on that supply chain, and you didn't want that, and maybe that's why, things are the way they are. But I almost felt like AMD slacked it this year, and was slacking off, and hopefully in 2022 they get back their competitive edge, because Intel, they sure, seemed like they've been slacking the last, 3 years, and now they got back their competitive edge and came off the Alder Lake. So with this little competition, I really want them to be competing hard at the same time, not just like one take off, one go on, one take off, one go on. But let me know what your thoughts are on your outlook. I think with some of the manufacturing stuff, there's going to be, I think AMD is also going to be on multiple different nodes, too, on the manufacturing side to help alleviate some of that pressure. And we know Intel kind of has their own fabs as well, and they can outsource. So there may be some opportunity there. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are on this below. Thank you for making it to the end of the video and helping support this channel. I really appreciate it. Until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.